We'll be installing a GRP short shift kit on a V6 Lotus Emira manual. Here's the unit itself. From my understanding, the existing cable threads into this one, and we'll have to remove the other one, and then it fits on the belt housing. You'll need two 10mm open-end wrenches, some pliers, maybe some lighting, and I did notice that this one seemed like more a 7/16, so this is a SAE instead of metric. The first step will be removing the engine cover. You can go ahead and pop those off. There should be two clips here, and then two in the back as well as two here. So you just go ahead and lift up on these. And this top piece pulls out. And then you'll want to remove this piece. And that's it. For the clarity of this video, I've removed the air intake hose. All you really need is a flathead screwdriver on both this connection and this connection. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. Just loosen them and remove it. This hose is held on just by a clip. Just go ahead and pinch it and remove it out of the place, and then just pull it out of the hose. I'm removing this just for the video. I think this is probably doable without doing this, but if you also need extra space or if you have large hands, probably a good idea. Now that we've removed the hose here, you'll see that down here there is a cable, and there's a cotter clip, very difficult to see here, that we'll need to be pulling out, and that'll be the next step here. Fair warning that you should not drop this cotter pin. Make sure that you don't, otherwise you'll be fishing it out probably for hours. So I'm going to go ahead and reach in here and do the best I can. Alright, so here's our cotter pin. Put that aside and save it. We will be reusing it. Our next step will be removing the shift cable from the linkage here. It lifts right off, and what you'll notice is that the end of this is a rubber bushing that introduces quite a bit of play in the shift. This kit is supposed to go and make it a little bit stiffer, firmer direct feel action, etc., etc., by using a spherical bushing at the end of the connector right here. So this is a spherical bushing. So next, we'll just be lifting this up. So go ahead and pull it straight up. And there you can see the spherical bushing, or rather the rubber bushing on the stock end link. So our next step here, and you'll notice if I zoom in a little bit here, you'll see that there's a green mark here, and you'll see that the end link, and there is another nut squashed up against it. We'll need to separate those two. They're both 10mm, and so you'll have to place one end on the body of the end link and then one on the nut, and then spin them off. So this is going to be the most difficult portion because you need to get the 10mm wrench around the body like this, and you need another wrench, a 10mm wrench, in order to loosen it. And facing it this way, it's going to be lefty loosey, righty tighty on the threaded here portion here. So I actually found to use a flare nut wrench, 10mm, better than an open-ended for this portion. That way it doesn't actually slip off of it. So you'll just put this over here and then loosen it. At this point, I think I should be able to loosen it by hand. There we go. So now you can see that it's loosened. And I should be able to turn it, the mount, clockwise to get it off. And again, you don't want to drop this, so keep a good hand on it. And we've gotten it off. The next step is going to be threading this back onto the body of the cable. And what Greg has mentioned on the site is that you just basically want to thread the entire body down here. So you don't want to basically remove this. You want to make your adjustment first. and right now it's set at the 45% of the original throw. If you want it to be a shorter throw, you're going to have to loosen this top 10 millimeter or whatever size hardware this is, and then shift it outwards. So here, I'm going to go ahead and try to thread this on here. You're not going to be able to see anything. It's going to be all by feel. Sorry for the lack of video here. All right, so now it's on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and place the short shifter on the end of the bell housing. Greg has mentioned that this is on the tight side. We'll find out if that's difficult or not to do. Oh, went on just fine. So the two next steps that are left here are basically tightening this nut back against. So I'll tighten this by hand first. And then we'll have to go in there with 2 wrenches and kind of crank it down a little bit. And then the other one is putting the clip back into the hole. All right. So the next step is I'm gonna have to put this clip back on here. So usually, if you've never used one of these, the straight side goes into the hole, and you need a pretty good amount of force in order to put it in there. And this bends the clip so that it gets captured right there. So I usually put it on pliers like this, and I line it up. I find that hole, make sure it's got it. You can see right there the clip is engaging. Go ahead and keep pushing it in. I have to get a better grip on it to really push it in. And there we go, now it's locked in place. Finally here, what we need to do is tighten that nut right here up against the collar. And I've found that because this is a solid bushing here, a spherical bushing, there's not rubber play like the OEM one, and you don't actually need to hold down this portion. So just go ahead and snug it up right here. You don't need a whole lot of torque here. This is just really small hardware. It just needs to be tight. There we go. Finally, if you've removed the air intake hose, go ahead and put that back on. Remember this hose as well. Put the engine cover on, and you are finished.